Hi there folks. In this video we're going to do a basic strip and assembly for the Dominion Arms Cougar semi-auto shotgun. Now this shotgun is basically a clone or a copy of a Remington 1100, so it's pretty much going to be the same procedure that you would follow for a Remington 1100. Anyway, as usual, the first thing we got to do is make sure that the shotgun is in fact unloaded before we proceed any further. So we'll open the breech up, and you can see the bolt is locked back, and we'll inspect the chamber. You can also inspect the magazine tube. You can see the follower there, orange follower. So we're sure that the shotgun is unloaded, so we can therefore proceed. Alright, the first thing we want to do after we've checked for safety is remove the nut that holds the fore end on, and it's got a big knurled surface on it, so it's pretty easy to take off. So that comes off easily. We'll set that aside. We'll then remove the wooden fore end. Simply pull it to the front. It comes right off. Set that aside. Alright, we want to lock the bolt back, rearward position, and with the bolt in the rearward position we're going to remove the seal here at the front, this gas seal. This is the one difference between this shotgun and 1100, the one big difference. On an 1100 it has an O-ring which goes underneath the magazine, between the magazine tube and the gas block. But in the case of the Cougar, they've substituted that with this fairly large rubber seal. You can see that's got a bevel on the bottom of it, and that bevel fits into the a corresponding bevel in the front of the gas ring there, the gas block. So once we've taken that off, we can set that aside. We can pull the barrel straight out. You can see how it comes off right to the front. So the barrel comes straight off to the front like that. And with the barrel off, those of you who are familiar with 1100s will notice that it is in fact a dead ringer for a Remington 1100 barrel, including the fact that it has two gas ports, which is very similar to an 1100 skeet gun. And I think the manufacturer in this case decided to put two very large gas ports. If I can get the light on those properly, you can probably see them there, those two rather large ports, and they're really huge. I think the manufacturer in this case decided that in order to get a shotgun to run reliably, a gas operated shotgun to run reliably with this short of a barrel, they needed to increase the gas volume going into the system, so that was their solution. You can see the front sight block, very large post on it there, and we've got screw-in chokes here. And in this case I like to keep my choke tubes coated with grease so that they don't seize in place. And basically a choke tube doesn't have to be tightened up terribly tight, just snug enough to keep them from unlocking. There is a combo tool that comes with the shotgun. I don't actually have it with me at the moment. I may go get it later before the video is over. As you can see, there's what the choke tubes look like. This one of course is dirty because I was shooting the shotgun yesterday and it's covered with grease, as I mentioned. But they are interchangeable with the like a wind choke pattern choke, which is kind of on par with what these Chinese shotguns use. They all seem to use that wind choke pattern of thread. So I think Browning and Vector chokes will also fit these shotguns as well. So anything with that wind choke, Browning, Invector pattern should fit. You can buy a variety of aftermarket tubes that will fit those, including rifled tubes and extended tubes and so forth. So anyway, when it comes to cleaning these barrels, it's the usual type of thing. You want to clean the bore. You want to clean in around this locking recess where the locking block comes up. You also want to clean inside the gas block here, clean all the carbon and dirt out of that. And also you want to clean up around the outside because the excess gas is vented to the sides. You can see my hands are getting dirty already. So pretty basic cleaning like you would do with any gas operated shotgun. So clean the bore, and when you're finished, I don't like to leave a lot of oil inside these gas blocks. It can cake and carbonize up and leave a big mess. So what I like to do is I like to clean the inside of this and then spray a little bit of WD-40 on a rag and lightly wipe that out, and that leaves just a very slight residue of preservative on there to keep them from rusting, because if you don't oil them at all, if you leave them super dry, they will rust. A lot of times condensation will build up inside those and they will rust. At least that's been my experience with the 1100 Remington. Alright, so we'll set the barrel aside and we'll, excuse me, we'll look at the other components of the gas system. And once again, as is the case with the Remington 1100, it's got 2 gas rings. This is, once again, it copies the older style of Remington gas system. I believe the new type Remington has a one-piece gas ring. I could be wrong on that on the 1187, but anyway, you can pull the gas ring to the front. You'll notice this is the orientation that the gas ring has. This beveled portion of the gas ring should face to the rear of the gun when it's on the tube, with this notched portion facing forward. And once again, you want to clean that with some solvent and dry it off, and then leave a light coating of a preservative on it. Like, once again, I said WD-40 works good for this because it's very thin. Just a very light coating of preservative on that when you put the gun away to keep it from rusting. And the second gas ring comes off to the front, same idea. And you can see that it's got a beveled portion on the inside here and a flat portion at the back. The flat portion goes to the back of the gun, and you want to clean that the same way you did the first gas ring. I'll just show you how the 2 gas rings go together. When they're on the gun, they fit together in this fashion here. You'll notice there's a split in the gas ring here. There's also a split in this gas ring here, and that's to give some leeway for a fit. Basically, it's better to have these splits 90 degrees or 180 degrees apart from each other so that the gas doesn't squirt past them. They'll close together and lock up and keep the gas from getting past them too much. So we've got the gas rings off. You can see all the carbon and shit on the magazine tube here. You want to clean that off when you're doing your maintenance of the gun. Get all that carbon off with some solvent. Alright, we want to remove, whoops, bumped the camera. We want to remove the gas, the block here, and we also want to remove the bolt and the carrier and so forth. So grab a hold of the operating handle and push the release on the bottom, and then ease these parts ahead. Don't let them slam ahead because you'll start damaging stuff, especially with no barrel on the gun. So with that all the way ahead, grab a hold of the operating handle and just pull it straight out. And that's spring loaded. You can pull that straight out. So with that pulled out, you're going to have to depress the shell latches which are inside the gun to be able to remove the operating system here. So up inside the gun, probably kind of hard to see from this angle, but there are shell latches. And there's one on the right hand side of the gun here. Push that in and pull the whole mechanism ahead once you've got that pushed in. And you should be able to, if everything lines up properly here, should be able to pull it all the way out of the gun. So there you go. There's the bolt which sits on top of the carrier. So you can just pick that right off the top. You can see I got a lot of oil on that. There's a lot of goo and everything on that because I was shooting it yesterday. So your bolt and so forth is very much a Remington style bolt. It's like I said, it's a virtually identical copy of a Remington. And we've got our carrier and our block here. And you notice how this is loose, and that's of course on purpose. That allows the system to have a run to fill with gas and have a run at the operating system to impart some momentum into it before it tries to open up the action. I've been running a lot of oil on this because I was having some problems with the gun when I first got it, and when you run a lot of oil on things, they tend to collect a lot more dirt. So this gun is still kind of in the break-in process. So normally you wouldn't need this much oil on them. You would use less than that, but I'm just trying to get this gun broken into the point where it operates reliably. So you want to clean all the carbon off. You'll have some carbon and dirt around the front of the tube here where it's blowing past the gas system. You want to clean that off. You want to clean any powder fouling off the rails, off all these surfaces, and normally you would just lightly lubricate all these before you put them back together again. And with the bolt, obviously you want to clean the breech face underneath the extractor. You want to clean, this is the locking surface of the bolt here. You want to clean that and give everything a good wipe down and a light lubrication. Once again, this has got a lot of oil on it because I've been trying to get the gun to run properly. So normally you shouldn't have that much oil on one of these to run it, but for the purposes of breaking this thing in, that's what I've been doing. Okay, let's move on with removing the trigger mechanism from the shotgun. And to do that, we're going to want a non-marring tool like this brass punch. And it's a simple matter of pushing out both of these pins. And you can push them out left to right or right to left. I don't think it makes any particular difference. Pull those out and simply pick up the rear of the trigger group here. Bit tight fit, and you should be able to just pull that right out. So you can see the trigger mech there. Once again, you want to get in there and clean out all the powder fouling, any dirt, any plastic crap that come off the shells, and so forth. Get that all scrubbed out thoroughly and lightly lubricate it before you reinstall it. Give the trigger pins a wipe off since they usually have a bit of dirt on them as well. And inside the receiver, you can see this this component right here and right there, and that's the link. And the link basically transfers the energy from the spring, which is in the buttstock, into the bolt carrier group. So you can remove that just by pulling it straight ahead, and you can see the tail of it come out there, and it's split at the back end like that. And we'll just wiggle that around here. We should be able to get that to come out. There we go. So there's the link, and that goes in the gun. If you're looking at the shotgun, it goes in this attitude here with the curved portion downward. Don't try installing it that way. It just won't work. It's going to jam the gun up. So when it's inside the receiver, it will be in this attitude, and it runs inside the rails, basically, that actually, if you look at the carrier, this piece, when it's in the gun, matches up with the carrier just like that, and it pushes the carrier ahead, keeps force on it from the spring. So that's a part that on Remingtons has been known to break with extensive use. Those can break. I would say by looking at this one that it's probably, if it's not interchangeable with a Remington one, it's probably close enough that one could take the original Remington type part and modify it or file it a bit to get it to work in this gun. So what we're left with there is the empty receiver, and of course you want to clean inside that with some solvent, brushes, etc. Remove all the powder fouling and dirt and lightly lubricate. As you can see, there's a shell latch here, and it's staked in place, and there's some staking marks back here. That should stay in the gun when you take it apart. If that pops out, you probably should take it to a gunsmith who's equipped to restake it. That shell latch should stay in the gun. If that pops out clear, something's a little wrong. You can put them together without them being staked, but it's a real pain in the ass because the holes have to line up exactly. So anyway, that shell latch should stay in place. There's another latch over here. You can see it right there, and it's actuated by the trigger mechanism. And that normally you wouldn't bother taking that apart, although you can pop There's an E-clip there you could pop off, and there's a spring that you could, for some reason, if you needed to, take that out to clean underneath it. But I would recommend just flushing around it with some solvent and put a drop of oil on it. I wouldn't bother taking that apart as a matter of course. Alright, the other thing that we need to take out as a part of maintenance is to remove the magazine spring and follower. And this has got the newer style Remington type retainer. You can see it's notched here at the end. There's got these notches on this plastic piece, and those notches engage with these notches inside the magazine cap, so that gives you your lock. If you screw it in, you can hear that ratcheting noise. That's what retains your magazine cap in place, so something to keep in mind. So to remove that, you can put a screwdriver in this slot in the end, or you can just use your finger. You can see there's a groove here, and there's a dent on this side and a dent on this side. That's what retains this inside the magazine tube. So shove that cap in and turn it a quarter turn, and it will come out. Now, there's the spring as well and the plug. So you can see what we've done is we've gone and we've lined up this slot with those dents. Before, it was being held captive in this slot where it bottoms out. So that's how that works. Here's the plug that comes with it. It comes with a plug in it to keep the capacity at 2 shells for hunting purposes where that's required. If you need that for your hunting where you live, don't forget to put it back in, because you can get in crap with the game warden if your gun holds more shells than is allowed by the hunting regulations. We've got our magazine spring. These will rust on you if they're not maintained, so take them out, wipe them off, put a medium coat of oil on them, because magazine springs do rust. Also, the inside of magazine tubes will rust because they just seem to be a magnet for moisture. So clean inside there and oil it lightly. We want to remove the follower, so we'll give the follower if we can get that to come out. It's kind of sticky in there. Probably because I put a bunch of oil in it. I'm just going to use the plug there to push that ahead. So when you get the follower pushed all the way to the front, you'll have to turn it around so that the notches that are in it will line up and come out. You can see quite a bit of dirt on that. So there's a notch there which lines up with those depressions or dimples in the magazine tube. So to get that out, you have to have it turned around. So just stick your finger in there and turn it around so those are lined up. So that's dirty. That needs to be cleaned, and the inside of the magazine tube needs to be cleaned. So that's about as far as I would go with a regular cleaning or regular takedown for this gun. Maybe once a year you can remove the buttstock and clean inside the action spring in the back. I don't do that terribly often, and I'm not going to show that in this video, but there is a spring and a tube inside the buttstock and with a plunger in it, and it needs some maintenance depending upon, of course, how often you've shot the gun and how many shells have gone through it. Anyway, I'm going to clean stuff up and then we'll put it back together.